Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So my social media links, email, and Substack, and Buy Me a Coffee will be provided in this episode. Okay, so audio platforms, I'm on Audible, Amazon Music, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and I'm looking to grow to wherever you enjoy your content. Podcast content, I'm on it. So this episode is about the artist I think relate to Gordon Lightfoot's style, particularly in the manner of speaking of what the terms of storytelling and the terms of talking about current events per se, and breaking everything down and a way to make the ideas and the concept of social commentary per se, and noticing everything around you more talked about, more in the conscience of reality of people, and more of the masses throughout this type of music. So I'm going to focus on first I'm going to focus on the Looking Glass with Brandy, and then on the artist John Denver. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass. Interesting enough, the album was entitled Looking Glass. It was released in 1972. It charted number 1 in the U.S. Fact: the 4 members of Looking Glass are alumni of Rutgers University. The band recorded the song 7 times before they got it right. Brandy was based on the name of the lead singer, Elliot Lear's high school sweetheart, Randy. It tells the story of a musician torn between his love for life at sea and his love for a barmaid. Released as the B-side of Don't Make It You Feel Good, the song was overlooked, as was the A-side for that matter, until Harv Moore at Washington, D.C. disc jockey took it up as a personal cause. After years of playing covers and their originals at frat parties and bars in the New Brunswick area, Looking Glass was signed to Epic Records by Clive Davis. And mentioning Clive Davis, I think it's very sad with the Sean Combs, everything with that. I think that is the reality of the situation, that when you delve deep into things and want to look at things, people abusing power and turning the other way, and it's just very sad that things like this go on, particularly in the entertainment industry, that this is an ever-present just example after example after example, that this is present in the entertainment industry. And I think if you hold on to the purpose and if you hold on to integrity, that this will wash away all of these problems, all of these things that are sadly and just is sadistic that this is a common thing, and it shouldn't be. And the artists, and particularly musicians, and going in depth, actors, actresses, painters, all, entertainment is, you can say, the art is, as far as physically painting things and all this, can be a form of entertainment. Those that stand to morality and stand up against all of these things and constantly expose these things for what it is and try to tell people and try to shine a light on all these things is really remarkable. When it's a testament of your character and who you are when you stand to lose everything, but you still hold on to morality and what's right. It's really something to say about that. All right, so the band appearing on Dick Clark's American Bandstand and at Carnegie Hall never came close to matching Brandy's success. And by 1973, Lurie had left for a solo career. He was replaced, but the band soon fell apart. In 1995, Looking Glass reunited to perform Brandy and Jimmy Loves Marianne at a Madison Square Garden concert. In 2000, Brandy was a part of the soundtrack for the film Charlie's Angels, for which the band members of Peter Serval's estate each received a loyalty check of $30,000. Serval unfortunately died of AIDS in 1992. The members of the band also received a modest sum of $4,000 each year for the general use of the song. So, former drummer says, which is Jeff Grob, wishfully, if only liquor commercials were allowed on TV. The former band members are today Larry Gonski, RC70 keyboards, teaches music in the Morrison Town School District, and Jeff Grob, CC85 of the drums, after playing with the hard rock band Stars. He returned to school to earn his landscape architect degree. The band was signed by Clive Davis, a famous record executive who has nurtured the careers of many successful artists, including Santana, Billy Joel, and Whitney Houston, to name a few. This was not typical for the band's sound, which caused a problem at concerts. While audience expected pop songs like the one the Looking Glass played, rock, which left the crowd disappointed. The band broke up less than 2 years later. There was a song called Brandy by an artist named Scott English that was popular around the same time in the UK when Barry Manilow recorded it. He changed the title to Mandy to avoid confusion with the song. And Barry Manilow, from what I researched and what I gathered, was also signed with Clive Davis too. Summer sings this to, I'm referring to The Simpsons here, in this episode, particularly the 1991 episode of The Simpsons, Principal Charming. It was also, as the list goes, appeared in these shows and movies. Alright, so ER, the episode Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, 2001. King of Queens, my personal favorite, and Kevin James, really great comedic talent there, along with all of them. Jerry Stiller, comedic legend, and Leah Remini, and his brother, can't forget that, is very funny. They're just a funny ensemble cast, and I'm referring to Kevin James's brother. Just good stuff there. So it was released in 2005, and the episode was G Night Stalker. Very funny too. Scorpion, Father's Day, 2014. Better Call Saul, really good series there. Breaking Bad, 2022. Okay, some movies I already said. Charlie's Angels. Okay, Night at the Roxbury, very funny movie. Loser, really good movie too. That's really interesting. Loser, 2000. I think it's really refreshing, those gem of romantic comedies that tell the perspective of love from a male point of view. And interesting enough, the Say Anything, some say, oh, that movie's kind of cheesy, it's not very interesting. Well, I think maybe it has to do with the perspective of that it's from a guy's point of view, and then it's giving the perspective and giving the reality that sometimes you put your best effort into somebody and it's really not worth it. So what do you guys think? I would like to know your perspectives about guy rom-coms per se. Email me or send me a message on Substack. It would be greatly appreciated. Alright, so see. And then Lords of Dogtown, 2005. After the Looking Glass split up, Elliot Lure moved to Los Angeles, where he worked on a number of films as a music supervisor. His credit includes Stuart Little, Alien 3, and Spanglish. He picked up his guitar again in the 2010s when he was summoned by the Yacht Rock Review. Say that 10 times fast. The Yacht Rock Review, who told him that Brandy was one of the most popular songs in the genre. After explaining the concept of yacht rock to Laurie, they invited him to perform with them, which he did on a regular basis. Yeah, and yacht rock is really interesting. The whole genre, particularly, it has to do with these type of themes of rock, soft rock. Kenny Loggins, let's see, the Doobie Brothers, the list goes on. But those particular feel and mind is associated with the yacht rock genre. Alright, this song plays a big role in the 2017 film Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where it plays in the opening scene, a flashback to before the lead character, Peter, Chris Pratt, was born. And big mention to him, Chris Pratt. I think he's, as I mentioned earlier about sticking to morality, it's really refreshing that he is an actor that does that even in the face of pushback against him and the face of scrutiny because he is a humble person, he still, sticks to his moral compass, and it says a lot about him. It says a lot about his integrity. It's inspiring. Okay, so when Peter reunites with his father, the ego, Kurt Russell, good guy there too. That song comes to represent their conflict, as ego wants Peter to help him rule the universe. To convince his son, he quotes the song, explaining that world domination is Peter's destiny, as was the sea for the sailor who left Brandy behind. In the film, Ego left Peter's mother to die on Earth while he went off to conquer the universe. While Ego relates to the sailor in the song, Peter doesn't buy it, choosing instead to honor his mother as an analog to Brandy and battle against his father. Pretty good. There's a really good movie there. 1 and 2. The last installment is lukewarm, but unfortunately, that's Disney, the plague of Disney now, pandering to people instead of making good work. The film's director, James Gunn, also did the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, where he did lots of 70s hits for the soundtrack. A big fan of Brandy, he sought out the sequel. All right, so moving on to John Denver. Here we go. Okay, before I get into everything about John Denver, particularly talking about the song Rocky Mountain High, I'm going to get some thoughts about that and everything else. What I'm going to focus on in my thoughts is about the censorship and about the aspects that they also talk about as far as the implications of everything else, of the misplacement of cities and everything when the Olympics comes into town, and all of these things that I will further talk about when I am talking about this song. So let's start out with the censorship. I think it's very interesting. John Denver was vocal about this, how it was senseless to ban his song out of a misunderstanding of saying this is just crassly relating it to drug references, when it wasn't about that. It was about the natural feeling feeling of excitement, of joy, of all of that when you're in nature, particularly when you are on mountains, and I can understand that aspiration and that effect of accomplishing something like that, of going up a mountain, walking on mountains. And then him, from what I understand, he adopted children, and then his sense of censorship, from a parental point of view, of waveringly censoring something when there is no point to it, can be very aggravating when somebody is putting something deviant or unjust onto something that has pure intentions, good intentions. And then it also reminds me of the fact, so U of H, the communication building particularly, is endorsed. It is named after Jack J. Valente. So Jack J. Valente was a pioneer in the rating system, particularly the rating system of movies and things of that nature. It's very interesting how his format of things. So during the time when he started building up the system of censorship, of what is deemed this and that, it was very admirable of the things that he was trying to do. So this was in the era of when that movie Carnal Knowledge, things of that nature. People pushing the boundaries when things weren't seen like that before, and then stepping in and saying, okay, we have to put a system in play to what's so people can understand this is mature content, this is that. It's really something to think about. And so the aspects of the Olympics and everything else, I think that's very interesting too. So there's been articles and people on YouTube, things of that nature, talking about the concepts of how when the Olympics comes to a particular town, how it in fact is defeated of the purpose. Instead of uplifting the town in a prosperous way, it destructs the town. And I think it's a means to an end. When Beijing, when they were there, and all of the mass destruction that happened, it is really unfortunate, but it's the reality of the situation of how they operate in China, unfortunately. And things of that nature of when they were in Rio de Janeiro, it was some pieces about that, how the sort of the idea of the white elephant, where it looks like it's something that's of hope and prosperity and affluent for somebody and for a society and civilization, when in actuality it's not. It's the destruction. It's really something to think about. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about the song Rocky Mountain High by John Denver. Okay. So it's part of the album Rocky Mountain High of 1972. It charted number 9. Denver started writing the song during the meteor shower, which happened every August. He was camping with friends at the tree line at Williams Lake near Windstar, his foundation in Colorado. And all of a sudden, there were many shooting stars, and he noticed the shadow from the starlight, thus the line from the song. He says that while the inspiration struck quickly, it took him about 9 months to complete the song. In Denver's autobiography, he wrote, "I remember almost to the moment when that song started to make shape in my head. We were working on the next album, and it was to be called Mother Nature's Son, after the Beatles song, which I included. It was set for release in September, and in mid-August, Annie and I and some friends went up to Williams Lake to watch the first meteor showers. Imagine a moonless night in the Rockies in the dead of summer, and you have it. I had insisted to everybody that it was going to be a glorious display. Spectacular, in fact." Some of the references in the lyrics: he was born in the summer of the 27th year. John was 27 at that summer, coming home to a place he'd never been before. He and Annie had just made Aspen home, and he lost a friend but kept his memory. A good friend from Minnesota had come to visit and was killed riding John's motorcycle. When they tried to tear the mountains down to bring in a couple more, this refers to the debate at the time about bringing the Olympics to Colorado. On the BBC radio program, The John Denver Show, he set the stage for the song by introducing it with the story. And you and I have just broken down out of a huge stand of Douglas fir. And you see how storytelling and talking about current events, particularly the Olympics to Colorado, and then setting up the precedent of telling the story about a Douglas fir. The trees tower hundreds of feet above us. We've come out of the solemn, cathedral-like darkness of the trees into the bright early morning sunshine of a grassy slope. The grass is wet and soft with morning dew beneath our feet. The air is crisp, so crisp it sends little needles of joyful pain through the membranes of your nose. The air is so clear, it seems to purify your lungs. On both sides, above and beyond, stretch the awesome rockiness there, gray snow-capped peaks jutting out of the early morning mist. This is living. This is what man was created for, to live and work and continue what these mountains represent. Denver invoked this song when he testified at a Senate hearing in 1985, where he opposed the labeling of albums proposed by the Parents Music Resource Center, PMRC for short. As an artist, I am opposed to any kind of a rating system, voluntarily or otherwise, he said. My song Rocky Mountain High was banned from many radio stations as a drug-related song. This was obviously done by people who have never seen or been to the Rocky Mountains and also had never experienced the elation, celebration of life, or the joy in living that one feels when he observes something as wondrous as the meteor showers on a cloudless night when there are so many stars that you have a shadow from the starlight. And you are out camping with your friends, your best friend, and introducing them to one of nature's most spectacular light shows for the very first time. Obviously, a clear case of misinterpretation. Mr. Chairman, is which he said, what assurance have I that any national panel to review my music would make any better judgment? And so I want to end on this. And me personally, I think it's one of those things where you have to have common sense, which is unfortunate that fails on the mindset of what is seen today in mainstream and so forth. But it's one of those things. I think when you have when you have pure moral compass intentions, going back to what I was saying before, that everything falls in line easily. So, for instance, banning books. Okay, there's things that should be banned and things that are okay. And, for instance, Huckleberry Finn gets a lot of flack. It's incredibly racist. It's this, all of these things. But in looking at the context is when it was written, it's very groundbreaking because it's shedding a light of the evils of that thought process and making humor and joy out of that and trying to find a better way with it, which I equate that to really good humor, comics who are grounded and the realities of the benefits of being a comic, of talking about serious matters, but finding a good outlet to get and have these things addressed, and so you can move forward and heal from the process, And then on the other flip of this, the outrageousness of saying that it's okay to have all these LGBTQ deviant things and public libraries for children to read, whereas Where's the decency? You want to yell, there's no decency, but you want to place these things and deem it okay for children to see. What sense is that? All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Friday, I will go in and talk about Gordon Lightfoot songs and also the legend and everything else about the Edmund Fitzgerald and all of that. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye-bye now.